And then I am going to hit the record button. All right, folks. I'm really excited today to welcome two people to our panel, Jackie and Jen. And we are gonna, so for those of you who have never been to our discussions, our number one discussion topic is, aside from solo aging, is what to do with your stuff. And somebody introduced me to Jen and her loose ends project. And when I heard this, I was like, wow, number one, I want people to know about it. But number two, this is going to be a fascinating discussion topic because we all know, we got to figure out who's going to get our big brown furniture and our bauble collection and our train collection and all that. But when you think about these projects that we've started that are unfinished and you go into your grandmother's house and it's sort of like you can't throw that away. I mean, somebody, you'd be struck down by lightning if you did that. But what do you do with it? Learn how to crochet. I think that's a solution probably people apply. But anyways, I'm babbling here. Jen, let's get to know you a little bit better. Tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to start the Loose Ends Project.
Oh, thanks so much for letting me be here. My name's Jen Simonic. I'm the co-founder of the Loose Ends Project. Um, at a certain point in your age, your resume starts looking like a lie to people. I started as an elementary, middle school, and high school teacher. I then worked for Girl Scouts. I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. I've always been crafting all through that, always a knitter. Started knitting when I was around 6. And then somewhere along the line, I started working in fintech as a salesperson and sales communicator, and had a couple of good years doing that. Um, and Last year, actually 2 years ago, I was in the process of looking for another job. I had been head of sales at a genetics company, and I was hanging out with my friend Macy, who I've known for 30 years. We're both crafters, and our husbands are architects who went to school together. I went to school with our husbands as well, and we were visiting a friend, and her mom had just passed away. And like most people, her mom had the bag of stuff of all the craft supplies, all the yarn, all the stuff, all the needles, and Patty's like, "Hey, I'll get it all out and you guys can go through it and take anything you want." Now, what the reality is, most crafters don't want other people's stuff. We have enough of our own, but you're never going to say that because, this is someone loves. So you take the time to go through it and, sort it out, figure out where it's going to go. Is it going to go to a school? Is it going to go to a senior center? Is it going to go to, another community group? And as we were doing that, we found two projects that Patty's mom had started. They were two very large crocheted blankets. And as I was sitting there trying to set my head together, I guess I got to finish this for my friend because I love my friend. I hate crocheting, but I love my friend. Macy said, we've been thinking about doing something together, and this could be the project that we do, because there's tons of crafters out there that want to help finish people's projects. So we finish projects left behind by people when they've passed away. We don't take the supplies. I'm sorry, I know you guys want to hear that we're the place to dump all your supplies. We don't take that, but we do make sure that the project gets finished for the person. And we also take projects from people who've lost their sight, or maybe there's dementia involved. You don't have to be dead, but you have to be unable to craft. It can't be that you just can't do this particular project because it's too hard for you. It's got to be a little bit more than that, because then all my projects would be finished. So
Man, what a story. What an amazing way to reinvent yourself, connect with your longtime buddy, and so now, folks, here's the cool thing. You're probably wondering, well, Jen founded this. Is this her partner on the screen? No. Jackie, I'm not gonna spoil the punchline. Just tell the story about how we connected and a little bit about your background, and then let's hear about your connection to Loose Ends Project.
Sure, absolutely. And again, Steve, thank you so much for, allowing me to participate in this as well. I would actually am the global well-being manager for Nielsen. Many of you know that simply as television ratings company. We've been doing that for over 100 years now. And I have been their global well-being manager for 10 years. I go down, I wear a lot of hats, I go down a lot of paths, et cetera, but a campaign that I'm going to be working on in the second quarter of 2025 has to do with healthy aging. And there is so much that is encompassed by that. And one of my favorite things to do is to go down rabbit holes because I never know what I'm going to bring up. And so in doing so, I found Steve's company. And so I was able to set up a quick meeting with him to talk about all the things that I was trying to do. And he's going through this entire roster of partnerships that he has. And Loose Ends just happened to be one of them. And I said, I know that. I raised my hand. I said, I know that. And here's how and here's why. My
Oh, but
mother was
before you go
okay.
on, I can't wait for you to tell this. But honest to God, folks, like, because I had talked to Jen and she's on the West Coast, and I was just like, when she said, "Oh, I've used them," I was like, "No, you haven't. No, no, I'm sure it's something else." And then she starts describing meeting the finisher and all this. I was like, holy cow, you really have had, what are you doing next week? So okay, keep on going, Jackie. This is great.
Sure, yeah. My mom, like many mothers of her particular generation, she knitted but she was an avid crocheter. And her daughter, really not so much, no matter how many times she tried. I can do the chain stitch. If I really had to, I might be able to do a granny square, but that's really it. But she was the type of mom that she got Work Basket magazine, if you happen to be familiar with that. And when it came in the mail, if I happened to flip through it, and there was a hat or a scarf or something else that caught my eye, it would be at the foot of my bed. If not the next morning, definitely within a week. That's just the type of person that she was. And when she was in her 80s and early 90s, she began crocheting baby blankets for her future great grandchildren. And one of those, but another project happened to be a light mint green baby sweater. But she never got a chance to finish that. She lived in her house for almost 65 years. She wasn't a hoarder, but being a child of the Great Depression, many of us know she was a saver. Anything that could be reused, mended, or recycled in some way, it simply was never thrown out. Once she passed, it took days and weeks for my brother and me to make decisions about what to keep, what to donate, what to pass on to other family and friends. But what was I going to do with this beautiful unfinished project? I simply could not let it go. It had very specific memories of my coming home to visit her. She was in the state of Ohio. I'm in Maryland. And she would be working on this periodically, and we'd be chatting away about, everything and nothing until illness forced her to stop her hobby. So I brought it back with me to Maryland, along with a bunch of other things, but this was very special to me. And I reached out to my community members on my Facebook page and absolutely no look. So again, I'm going down a rabbit hole, and I found Loose Ends online, and I was hooked up, pun intended there, with a wonderful woman in Frederick, which is not too far from me. We chatted about the project. She agreed to take it on. We met for lunch. She's a simply wonderful woman. I passed the project on to her, and she returned the project absolutely completed and beautiful. My mother was one of those who was forever helping friends, neighbors, church members, and even those at nursing homes and community centers where she volunteered. She repaired sweaters. She made lap blankets for them. She completed projects. So to see this very small project come almost full circle still fills my heart with joy. I have a wonderful memory of my mother and a new story to tell of how her need to help others went forth into the future, which then enabled another to help me continue her legacy for a great grandchild yet to be born. And it was Loose Ends that provided that opportunity, and I am so grateful. I want to show you the
Wow.
project. Here's the beautiful little project that was completed. All I have to do is to attach 3 little tiny pearl buttons that would be my great grandmother's. Those pearl buttons belong to her. They were on her wedding dress. So these will be attached to this.
Oh.
It will be put into
Wow.
a beautiful box. This is my mother. This is her memorial little pamphlet that went with her. And this is the beautiful little card that was given to me when the project was returned from the finisher.
Oh.
Wow.
So yes, I
Now,
am very grateful for loose ends for allowing me to
wow,
send
what an
this
emotional
from the
story.
past into the future.
What an emotional story. And the fact that your mom did unfinished projects, like if she was still alive and she knew about loose ends, she'd be all over it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think there's got to be more people out there like that, which is one of the reasons I want to spotlight this. Now, the out of curiosity, Jen, like
Yeah.
I'm impressed that that Jackie got this beautiful thank you card and they met for lunch. Like, is this like a requirement for the finishers, or is this just somebody taking this on their own?
So, that's a great question. I get this question a lot. Like, I don't get to meet Jackies very often. This is pretty special for me. I get to we match people up. We get an email after the fact. Sometimes we get a video. Sometimes we get some photos of what happened. So to actually be able to talk to Jackie, I'm sorry if I'm like almost in tears, but this is kind of special for me. Um, but to your question, um, all we ask for when someone signs up to be a finisher is that they want to do it, that they tell us what their skills are, they tell us their location, and they tell us what kind of projects they don't like to do. But the kind of person that signs up for this is somebody who's going to be conscientious and caring and thoughtful. uh, 9 times out of 10, I'll send an email that'll say, "Hey, do you want to do this project?" And they'll be like, "Oh, that's just what I like to do." And I'll match the finisher and the project owner, and I'll get like this beautiful note from the finisher saying something like, "I'm just so honored that I get to help with this. I'm just so thank you for letting me help," because people really want to help, and our finishers are really generous people, and they get a lot out of finishing these projects too, because they get to do their craft, but they also get to help somebody. Um, what I've discovered in the last 2 years is that people are craving opportunities to help each other, and we don't have a lot of them. The COVID kind of blocked us all off, and those typical things that we used to do to help each other were suddenly became dangerous. We couldn't meet up in groups. We couldn't do things. Um, and finishing projects for other people isn't a new thing. People have been doing it for centuries. Anytime you've got a group of people who craft, they finish each other's projects. The problem we have is that not everybody crafts anymore, and when a crafter dies, they might be the only person in that family. So that's why we came up with this. So that's the new part of what we do. Um, Sometimes when we have press, I'll read the comments, which you're never supposed to do, but they're usually lovely. They're really, really lovely, except for the person who's like, "I've been doing this for years." I'm like, "Of course you have. You're a good person and you want to help somebody." But the only thing that's different is we match the people remotely. And because we've been around for 2 years, we've been a nonprofit for one, and we have 26,000 volunteers across the globe in 64 countries.
Holy
And
cow.
people, right? So I, I'm constantly surprised, and we'll have 27,000 in a couple of weeks. Every couple of weeks, we get another 1,000 volunteers, and I just want more, because the more you have, the closer these people can be to the location. So Jackie was matched with someone in Frederick, right? Um, and I don't know what town you live in, but I imagine it was a couple of towns over. We used to have to match people by state, and now we can match people in the same neighborhood, which is spectacular, because not only are they finishing these projects, they're helping somebody in their neighborhood that they might not have known. So to us, it's about community building as well as getting rid of this stuff.
This is cool. Well, let's do a couple of things here. Let's walk through and Jackie, this is a good thing for you to share as well. But let's first walk through. I've got an unfinished project that I want to get finished, and you hit the loose ends website here, which and I guess in
You
that
hit some
situation, you would hit submit a project.
Yep, you hit submit a project,
Okay.
and then there's a button. It tells you the kind of things that we'll take. We'll take things that are clean, that are any kind of fiber, as long as we have as long as there was intention to finish this project and it contains string of some sort. We do everything from felting, which is taking wool and turning it into something, all the way to sewing and putting finishing touches on sewing things, so
Okay.
quilts. So you submit a project there, and it brings you to a Google form, and you fill out the Google form. We need photos. We do all of this by email, so we need photos, we need a description. We'll figure it out. Most of the times, if you don't have a pattern, we can probably figure it out. But we do need photos of what you have. And there's
And
sometimes that these projects have been taken from their materials. And in that case, we do work on finding the materials to try and put them together.
wow. And Jackie, that little walkthrough there, was was there anything extraordinary about your project, or did you find it to be a pretty seamless process for you?
It was perfectly seamless for me. I mean, I have the pattern here. I mean, I can't tell you how old it is. I'm going
Oh,
to guess this
wow.
is probably from the 50s. She may have made this same thing for me, and we're going back, quite a while. Definitely no more than the 60s. I'm absolutely sure. So I have the pattern, and the she had two skeins of this left of the yarn. So I had every confidence that there was just one sleeve and then the part of the edging that needed to be completed.
Yeah.
So I had every confidence that there was probably enough there to finish it. She just never got around to doing it, and
Wow.
it was just too beautiful. And there's great grandbabies coming, so somebody's gonna wear
Yay! That's
Um,
amazing.
no, so that's cool. Okay, so and then Jen, I guess that you and your team, uh when a request comes in from Jackie, now you're basically blasting this out to the local finishers closest to that zip code, or how does that work?
So what we have, so when we started all of this, we were working in spreadsheets, which, if anyone's had a spreadsheet of over 12,000 forms, it's not pretty.
No.
Um, we got some press in December, and we jumped from 500 project finishers up to about 1,000. And my next door neighbor, who is a web app designer, apparently went to bed and said, "I'm not helping Jen." And I was like, "I didn't ask you to help me." But then the next day, he's like, "I think we can put all of this on a web app, which allows you to have millions of finishers." So what we did is, we asked for people who wanted to help us, and we had some really generous people I used to work with in tech, put in their time and put together an app that we can search. We can put in a map. I can literally type in an address, and I can find all the finishers within 50 miles, 300 miles, 2 miles of that. And it's pretty awesome. We can plug in what the craft is and see who the expert finishers are, the medium and the beginning finishers. Because let's face it, not everybody who dies is an expert in their craft. They might have just started it, and they promised somebody to do it with their new skills and couldn't finish it. So a beginner could finish that. So it's a really remarkable tool. And what we're working on right now is getting donations and people to be able to put the projects in there, because the projects are still in a spreadsheet. So it's a little bit manual still.
Okay.
We do a lot of cut and pasting and sending out emails. So if we get a project, we'll find the closest person with the right skills. So location, project, skill, and then what Macy likes to call druthers and preferences. If you never want to see another piece of black yarn again because you can't see it and you can't knit it, we're not going to make you finish out a project like that. So because it's important to us that our finishers have a good experience as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
once we
Yeah.
get those three things, we find one person and we send the email out to them and say, "Hey, do you want to do this?" And then we connect them.
And that's great because yeah, Jackie, like I can imagine I mean, there's so many crowdsourcing things that are out there where you like fill out a form and all of a sudden you've got 20 people saying
Yeah.
they want to do, and now you've got to make a decision. So doing it one at a time like that, I'm sure that makes it better for the Jackies of the world as well as your finishers don't feel like they're competing against 19 other people.
What's really funny with our finishers is that we've got so many that on average we've had about 20 finishers for each project.
Holy
So
cow.
so we get to pick the closest and we try to pick people who've been waiting for a long time to finish a project. And sometimes we just have to pick the skill because if you've got a gosh, there's so many different projects out there, but like if I have somebody who needs a Tunisian crochet project done, Tunisian crochet was pretty popular in probably the 60s. It's not as popular anymore. So finding people who can do it, or a hairpin lace, that's another one that was a really big one in probably the 70s. But it's important to us to find that person who likes to do the craft. So
Great.
it depends on the craft.
Now, Laura's asking, what about needlepoint? Is
Yep.
needlepoint in the okay? It's and
Needlepoint, embroidery. If you've got a string, we can help you.
okay. So, and that's the what folks like. One of the questions when I met Jen was, I was like, "Holy cow!" Like, there's woodworking projects, there's automotive projects, there's like, and that's one of the things, folks, that I want you to think about here is that we're spotlighting Jen and how she's created this community around these fiber arts. But when you look at your own life, when you look at your loved one's life, think about it could be paintings, it could be stained glass, it could be things like that. I hope this creates a better awareness of, we can have a strategy for these projects and help people have this legacy because if they pass away and it's not done, Jackie, as you described, you can't throw this away. Like this means too much to somebody and it's too much of their personality, but we got to think about that.
And an important part about that, so we do get a lot of requests for woodworking trains. Trains are a big thing. Uh, we don't have the funds or the resources to mail those types of projects. Once if we had a database of probably 30,000 people, we could probably start doing woodworking. So it's something that's part of our long-term plan is to have all these projects. But as somebody who crafts and has achieved what we call in the craft community SABLE, which is stash allotment beyond life expectancy, we're never going to knit all that stuff. We have it, we love it. It's time to make those choices before somebody passes away. So it, even having a craft executor, my partner in crime, Macy, has a journal. Every single thing she has there. Anything she's started, she's got a nice little note about who it's for and what it's for. I do not. I'm lucky if there's a little piece of paper. And I've got some crafts that I don't want finished. I've got a crocheted bikini top. I don't need to be wearing that at 54. That's not something I need to do. And I fear that somebody's going to find it and say, oh, she wants to be buried in this. We need to get it done right away.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Get
Boy,
rid of it.
what I love, Jen, is that we talk so much about advanced care planning, estate planning, this, that, and the other. I never have heard craft executor, but again, the broader topic, we should have an executor at all the things in our lives that matter. And
If it matters, you should have a plan. If it
yeah,
matters to you, you should have a plan that someone's going to help you with it. And it's really important to know that that is something that, if you don't care about it, then you'll save your family some stress in trying to figure out what to do with your Pez dispensers that you collected over time. Maybe it's not important, and that's okay. Sometimes you collect things just for the sheer joy of it, and it's not that important. I have some really weird things around my house that unless somebody knew that they were important, they might not know. So I tell my family, like, this is a pipe threader from my great grandfather that he used when he was working as a carpenter and as a handyman. You know, these are things that I like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to bring joy to you. So figure it
Yeah.
out before.
Yeah. This is great. Okay. Before we started, you had some photos of some of the finished crafts. I think that would be lovely to look at those and maybe tell some of these stories here.
Sure thing. I hope that this you can see this well. This is me and my partner. This is Macy Kaplan and me on our first drive around with we had when we first started with our first 100 finishers, we had a flyer that we printed out, and this is us in the car driving to hospice centers and synagogues and churches and mosques and any community center we could find, coffee shop. There's still a coffee shop in my neighborhood that has my home phone number on it. Um, this is a really special project. This young lady died very early, and her brother sent me this picture of this little leaf, and he said it's an Afghan, and I was like, that's not an Afghan, that's a coaster. And then he told me a little bit about his sister and how she had died, and we posted it on our finisher group, which is we have a finisher group of about 10,000 people on Facebook, and within 20 minutes I had probably 30 volunteers who had come up with ideas of how to highlight that in an Afghan. And one lovely woman named Lee finished this project in coordination with the brother, and highlighted that piece that she had done.
Oh,
And he picked out the colors. Joanne's Fabric was kind enough to donate all the yarn for that because we didn't find it. So
wow,
that's
man.
one.
Gosh, you really tear up on these things. I mean, like
Yeah.
hearing Jackie's story and just hearing this is just amazing.
Yeah. And then we have some others. This gentleman's wife had started that sweater for him, and I think that picture kind of says it all. Every time you make a project, like for a pair of socks, I believe it's 35,000 individual stitches that are made. And as that yarn goes through your hands, the DNA of that person is interwoven with the fibers. So this gentleman's wife, I think he's in his 90s, was making this, and we were able to finish it for him. So, and
Mm,
his daughter's a wonderful photographer, and it lets us
wow,
use his photo.
that is a beautiful photo there. That's
Yeah.
excellent, man.
And I'll show you one more. This one I just absolutely love. This woman's daughter found this unfinished project, and she had modified the pattern, and it was a really complicated pattern. If anybody's done this type of Harlequin intarsia, and we were able, through some sleuthing, to find the Ravelry site where this woman had kept her project notes. So we were able to work from her original project notes and finish that beautiful sweater for for her daughter,
Wow.
which is
So
pretty
in this
special.
photo, the daughter is wearing the finished
The
product.
daughter is wearing the jacket. It was a little tight. It was a waistcoat size jacket, and mom had reorganized the pattern so that it could be floor length, which is just spectacular.
It
And that's
really
mom
is
and
beautiful.
dad in the picture.
And that's mom and dad in the picture there.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Wow. Holy cow, man. I
Isn't
mean,
that
this is
beautiful?
absolutely amazing.
And
Yeah.
so yeah, and the detective work done by the finishers was just spectacular. I can't even tell you how beautiful it was to see it. This one is a tearjerker as well. This is Jim and one of his finishers. Jim's wife Kathy had so many projects that she left behind after she had passed away from cancer, and we were able to complete this sweater for his daughter and a hat and scarf for his grandchildren,
Oh my.
um, which is pretty spectacular. I mean, there's things like that. There's also this one just made me smile so much. This woman uh, in the top right corner, she was described as a woman king. Like we get bios of all of these people, which is pretty spectacular. And she was making something for herself. She had this bedspread and she made all these little puffs and she wanted them attached to the bedspread. And she was caring for her child's child. She was caring for an elderly parent, and she passed away much too early. And we found a group of women in that were living in a community that all worked together to finish the project. And they're the four women on the left side of my screen. They finished this whole project. And the two women that came in, that was the daughter and her daughter came in, and they wrote to me, they said we felt like rock stars because we walked in and everybody said, are you here for the blanket? Are you here to get the blanket? We're so excited. So that was really beautiful, making that come to life, and that
Now,
idea come to life.
out of curiosity, you said that the ladies that completed this lived in a community. Was it a senior living community?
It was an independent living community. And they knocked this one out of the park. They did a great job, and I think they really enjoyed it. And we're starting to see more projects where we are asking communities to come together, because to finish a doily bedspread for one person could be years of work. But
Hmm.
we like to call doily bedspreads the cilantro of crafting. You either love it or you hate it. So we're starting to get groups together. Joanne's has these beautiful crafting rooms, and we're starting to have people meet at those crafting rooms to get these bigger projects done. We also have local quilt shops that are helping us for these things. So
Well,
there's people out there. It's just getting them organized to get them together. So
well,
um,
this is really working with you is this great purposeful, could be a real purposeful activity for senior living communities, because I know they're always looking for ways, the residents are looking for ways that we can come together and make a difference. And what a great story there.
yeah, and it's. I mean, I like to think of what we do as the Red Cross. I used to teach CPR back in another lifetime, and I've taught thousands of people how to do CPR. I never really want any of them to have to do it because it's a traumatic experience. Um, while finishing other people's projects is not traumatic, we never know where they're gonna hit, right? You never know where that emergency is gonna hit, where somebody's unfinished thing's gonna be. So in that vein, when we pick up all these finishers and we have all these finishers waiting around, um, we can't always say, well, we're going to designate this senior center to do this because of the logistics of it. But when it happens, it's a beautiful thing.
Man, this is great. Now, let's see. Mary asks, have you had anyone ask about finishing a braided rug? I have all the parts and materials. So is
Yep.
that something she could submit?
We've done rugs. We've done latch hook rugs, which is funny. I don't know that we've done a braided rug. I know we could. We've done woolen hook rugs before, and that takes a lot more skill than a braided rug. So I think we could definitely do it. We just have to search around our um, database. But we NPR did a lovely piece on us about our finishing a hand hooked rug for a woman who was still alive but suffering from dementia and couldn't finish it. But
Hmm.
it was a beautiful story that we had. Um, this is a needlepoint project. See, we do them. And I think, oh, this one I absolutely love. This woman had started making a tulip sweater that I would have died for in the 80s. I would have loved to have that. Um, it was a little dated. They weren't really sure what to do. So the finisher, who is on the left-hand side, said, you know what, let's make a blanket out of it for the next baby that comes along. So she was able to save all that delicate intarsia work and just put an edge on it, which is just beautiful. And those are the stories I have today. And these are just
Those
some
are
other ones.
absolutely amazing stories. And I'd probably be, crying my eyes out here if you keep on going there. But
Yeah.
okay. So folks, I put into chat some calls to action on how we can work with loose ends. we can submit projects via their website, and that's you go to loosend.org, you just click that submit button there. You can become a finisher, and that's really easy too. You just click on become a finisher, and go through that process. And as we learned, they really want to identify your sweet spots. If there's something that you don't like doing, they're not going to give you assignments there for that. Um, and
And
then
nothing ever shows up on your door. We check with you first because that would just be, I think that would be the worst if something just, a box just showed up and you didn't know what to do with it. So we ask you first. It's all through email.
and then reposting their post on social media. Again, you can go to the website, and you can connect to whether it be Facebook or LinkedIn, or looks like
Instagram is a
Instagram.
really great place to find us too because we have the if you want to cry for a day, go to Instagram and look at our projects. It's pretty spectacular. We put up all the projects and we tell the story of what's
Oh,
happening.
wow. No,
Yeah.
that's great. And then this is such a worthwhile project. I mean, we can all donate. And so right on their website, they've got the donate button there. And they make that easy for you. And so that's how we can, spread the word about this wonderful idea. And like I said, I think that you've created this amazing ecosystem, and I can see where this may expand to a lot of different verticals. But I love the fact you got to get this one right first. And
We got to get it right first. And so I know that we said we don't take stash from that's left over, but I realize that that's a problem in our community if people don't have a plan and things like that. If you go to our donate page, there is a list of organizations throughout the country and the world that take um, pro- craft donations. So it's on our website. It's under the it's not the donate button. It's on the donate page. If you scroll down past our call for monetary donations, it's a list of all the places we've found that will take yarn, that will take materials, and it might be a good resource for you as you're doing your daily jobs in the aging community.
Okay, great. Yeah. Yep, here I got it. I found that. Let me share that page here, folks. And
Because
it's
we do get that question an awful lot, like, "Hey, can you take my yarn off my hands?" And we can't. However, there are places all over the United
oh, look
States
at that. Okay, yeah,
that
here we
will.
go. And we're big in the Mid-Atlantic. You got a few there in Maryland. We got let's see,
I
LMNOP.
think we have one for every state in the
Oh
union,
yeah, look
at
at all the ones
least
in
one.
Pennsylvania and then in
Yeah,
Virginia as well. So that's fantastic. Well, this is an amazing discussion. I am so glad that I met you, and I can't believe that I had the good fortune of bumping into Jackie last
I
week and
know.
getting you on this discussion here, because just hearing your personal story about this is just, I mean, it really is heartwarming. Uh,
Thank Jackie. I can't believe I got to see you. This is great. I actually remember Jackie's project. I remember the green layette project, and I remember the whole I remember the pictures and sorting it. But it's so special to be able to see you in person. So thank you.
yeah.
Thank you.
Now, something that how many, so in 2 years, how many projects have been finished?
So that's a great question. We have had at least 1,600 submitted in 13 countries. We're really big in Canada and the UK right now, mostly English speaking countries, but we've got one in France, a couple in Mexico, just finished one in Switzerland. Um, but I sound really vague. That's the submitted projects. I feel like we have finished over 2,000. And hear me out on this. A lot of times people get the bag and they're like, So the project owner doesn't always know what they have. So it's like, I know my mom was making a blanket, and somebody's like, yeah, your mom wasn't making a blanket. She was making a hat, she was making a sweater, and some socks. And our finishers will take all those things and finish them all. We had one man submit a quilt, and the finisher was like, nope, that's 8 lap quilts, 8 distinct lap quilts, and made 8 of them for a memorial service. So and then you've got the person who's like, I had extra yarn, so the pattern was there for the whole layette. So instead of just making a hat, I made a blanket, a sweater, and booties. And you're like, okay, it speaks to the generosity. But nine, there's so many times where we get a project and we think one thing happened, and it was multiple projects.
Man. Wow. Well,
Yeah.
thank you both so much for joining us today. I can't wait to get this recording up and spread the word. And I hope that anybody that's either listening to this now or in the future, I hope this really inspires you more than anything is that for fiber arts projects, you've got a resource, okay? But really reflect on the things that we all love that are important to us and think about that that legacy and how you can continue with this so that these projects get done, they get in the hands of the people you want them to be, and we're all remembered the way that we want to be remembered. So this is cool. All
Thanks so
right.
much for having us. This is amazing. Thanks again,
You
Jackie.
bet.
What a treat.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Jen, and thank you everybody that tuned in today. I really appreciate it.